Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekend live stream from the Toronto March for Life. My name is Tabitha. I'm here with Michelle and Blaze. We're going to talk about this 2020 Toronto March for Life across Toronto, being in our own homes, in our own neighborhoods, and the content that we were able to provide you, then hopefully ways that you were equipped to use your voice for the voiceless, and equipped to just and motivated to just speak up and inspired to speak up. That was really the goal of what we wanted to do here. So we're going to just start off with just a bit of a recap of what we were able to do this week. We had content pretty much every night this week. We started off the week with doing a webinar on how to have a meeting with your MP. So that was something that We Need a Law put on. We went over how to request a meeting, how to run a meeting, really all about the Sex Selective Abortion Act that is currently before Parliament. You see, it's about the first time in 15 years that Parliament is debating a bill that would restrict abortion. So this is a huge moment for the pro-life movement. And we want to make sure that the pro-life movement is effectively using their voice to advocate for this bill. So we were hoping that if you were able to attend the webinar, that you felt inspired and equipped to go and have that meeting with your MP. Now, if you weren't able to attend that webinar, that's okay. We've actually put the information on our website, weneedalaw.ca. I think we're going to throw the link in the description to the actual blog post, where we just went through why are we encouraging you to meet with your MP? It's probably the single most effective thing that you can do right now to support this bill. It's a really important time to do so. And then we also just included the basic slides of how to do that, how to book the meeting, how to run the meeting, and just information on how to make that happen. So that'll probably be in the comments right now. You can click on that link and just sort of be inspired to use your voice to support the Sex Selective Abortion Act. Now, we also saw a lot of you guys responding to our calls to use your voice, to be active in your own neighborhoods across the country. We saw people putting up flag displays in their own yards, just miniature ones to draw attention to the injustice that is abortion, each flag representing preborn children who lost their life to abortion. And just really emphasizing the fact that we do need a law in this country around abortion, that we need to protect preborn human rights, that we believe that human rights belong to all human beings, and that needs to start at the earliest stages of life. Some very creative homemade signs. Thank you to everyone who made some of those, just showing both the care and your skill in sort of witnessing to this injustice that's happening right now in Canada. And also, we saw lots of emphasis on the pro-woman aspect of the message, both in terms of being against sex-selective abortion, as well as making sure we're caring for pregnant women as well. I think there was a thrift store. I think we have a photo of a thrift store that even put up an entire display about life. You see some facts about fetal development there, and just sort of an emphasis on loving both the mother and the child, and making sure that we're witnessing to the value of preborn human life. So it was great to see all of the ways you used your voice to draw attention to that. And that was really sort of the start of the political side of it. I'll leave it to my other organizers here to talk about the other elements of the week.
Yeah, that's right, Tabitha. I want to thank everyone who tuned in to all the videos and live streams that we posted this past week. We covered a lot of topics on the issue of abortion to equip you and empower you to be an effective pro-life ambassador. I want to give a shout out to Halton Alive, Windsor Against Abortion, London Against Abortion, and other local pro-life groups who shared and helped us promote all the live streams and also tuned in. I want to share with you some of the things that we did this past week. So on Tuesday specifically, we heard from the pro-life guys the importance of using effective apologetics to change hearts and minds in order to save lives. Katie and I also shared testimonies from the streets and from school presentations to show you the impact that we can have when we use effective apologetics and when we show our culture who the preborn child is and what abortion does to them. We also shared conversations where we shared or used the human rights argument in order to make a strong case for why abortion is a human rights violation. Then on the same day in the evening, Justina shared with us and gave us the essential tools that we need in order to have effective dialogue on abortion. She went through the human rights argument in order to set the foundation for the pro-life message. She also used common ground, analogies, and asked a lot of questions in order to address difficult circumstances. She also looked into the science of human development in order to provide scientific evidence of the humanity of the preborn child. Then on Wednesday morning, we heard back from the pro-life guys on how we can engage with people on social media. Though the same tools apply that we use in person when talking to people on social media, Ken gave us a bit more tips. He specifically talked about being intentional about the accuracy of the facts and evidence that we're sharing on social media. He also emphasized the need to be compassionate. I might say extra compassionate, because when we're not talking to someone face to face, it's so easy to misunderstand what the person is trying to say. So we need to be extra kind and compassionate. And we want to communicate that by being careful with the words that we use. And Cam emphasized the importance of asking questions so that we can make the person think through their own beliefs. And whoever is watching that thread could also, think through their own beliefs about abortion. Then on the same day in the evening, Jonathan showed us or taught us the lessons from successful social reform movements in the past by reflecting on the different struggles of past injustices in order for us to know the effective strategy for how we can reach and change our culture, specifically on the issue of abortion. Then on Thursday morning, I had the privilege to speak with Mary Helen Mose from Aid to Women to learn more about the pastoral arm of the movement and how we can support women who are facing a crisis pregnancy. Then finally, last night, I shared with you guys some guiding principles on how we can reach and talk to people who have been wounded by abortion. It's so important for us to, listen with the intent to understand, to really know where someone is coming from, and to show and communicate that we care for and love all human beings, not just the preborn children. And it's important to inspire and empower people to do what's right, even when it's difficult. And with 300 abortions that happen every day, that also means that there's so many women and men who have been wounded by abortion. And that's why, how we deliver the message is as important as the message itself. And so we need to remember to always share the truth in love and with compassion.
And although we didn't have the opportunity to gather together in person this year, the online Life Week brings with itself a different set of opportunities. So you may not have had a chance to tune in every evening, but most of the content from the week is still available on our website, torontomarchforlife.ca, on our social media accounts. If you miss something during the week, you can go back and see those talks, see those presentations. Also on social media, we've been sharing a lot of other stories, videos with interviews with pro-lifers about their own personal experiences or perspective on the abortion issue. Lots of other content to help equip you and educate you to be active and to use your voice effectively on behalf of voiceless preborn children. Because in Canada, nearly 300 children every day are killed by abortion. And although many things have been canceled during the pandemic, abortion has not been canceled. The urgency is here more than ever, our need to speak out. When you take a step back and you think about an event like this, a week like this, it's sort of wild to think that we need to organize something in order to reach out to our community and our society to convince people that all human beings should have human rights and that babies in the womb deserve a right to life and should not be killed. It's kind of wild that we're in a culture where abortion is normal. But many people simply haven't heard the pro-life message. They simply don't know what you know. They haven't heard what you may have heard this week, that human rights for all human beings, that human rights should start when the human being starts, which you know from science is fertilization. They may not realize that abortion is legal through all 9 months of pregnancy in Canada. And talking about the Sex Elective Abortion Act is an opportunity to educate people on the lack of any abortion laws in Canada and the need to start somewhere and to save human lives, because these are human beings being killed every day. Abortion is the leading cause of death in Canada. So it's critical that we come together this week, but that we remember this throughout the year, that abortion is the leading cause of death. It's a serious human rights violation going on in our society, and we need to use our voice week by week, month by month, to speak up on behalf of preborn human rights.
You're right, Blaze. There's so many people who have not heard about the truth of abortion. I used to be one of those people actually in high school. I heard about the abortion issue before, but did not know and understand the gravity of the injustice of abortion. I thought abortions were rare and that majority of the people were against it. But I only realized that it's a big problem when I went to my very first March for Life in Ottawa. I don't remember everything that went on that weekend or what happened that weekend, but I remember one thing. I left the march feeling motivated. I knew I had the desire to do something about the issue because my eyes were open to the reality of abortion and the need to speak up against it. And so when I went to university, I joined the pro-life club at the University of Toronto. And I got more and more involved. And I wanted to, contribute in small ways to make a difference. But as I learned more, I also learned that there's so much work to be done and more people are needed in order to change our culture. I remember attending a pro-life youth conference and the speaker said, there are more people working full-time to kill babies than there are people working full-time to save them. And that hit me hard. And from then on, I decided that I needed to do more, that I wanted to, make a huge difference, and I knew I could. And so after graduating, I decided to work full-time for the movement, and it has not been easy. And there are times where I've been, tempted to leave and move on and do something else. But when I remember the number of children, the children are killed by abortion every day. And I remember the conversations I've had with women and men who've been hurt by abortion. I know I cannot leave. And yes, I love my job. I'm passionate about what I do. But the main reason why I stay is because I'm needed in this work, in this movement. The pro-life cause is not just, a charitable cause. It's an emergency. An urgent action is needed. And lives are at stake and our actions matter. And that's why we can't just be active this past week. We need to be active every day throughout the year so that we can change hearts and minds and ultimately save lives.
Yeah, and one of the things we were talking about right before we went live was just that we don't have to do this in a sense of futility, like that we're not just speaking the truth because the truth needs to be said. Truth does need to be said. But all all of us have learned in the pro-life movement is we can also speak the truth in an effective way. We have seen hearts and minds change. We have seen things moving here in Canada, and you can be a part of that too. Just to apply it specifically to the political realm, I have talked to pro-choice MPs about the Sex Selective Abortion Act, and I've seen them want to support it. They understand that this is at least one reason that abortion is wrong, and they want to support it. And I've seen them move in that direction to where they would be willing to support at least one abortion law. And again, that's just one start of their journey to see, where they're going to end up in terms of supporting other abortion laws as well. Same thing with pro-life MPs. We have seen numerous MPs go from being nervous about even talking about this issue to being bold to speaking up about it. And one of the main things they always cite when that change happens is communication from the people in their riding. That's why you using your voice in this movement is so important. You can have such a big impact on those around you and on your representatives. And that's why meeting with your MP right now is so important to encourage them to support the Sex Selective Abortion Act, and just to develop that relationship so that in future years, when you go to them and talk to them about other pro-life legislation, that they recognize you, they know you, they trust you, and you can have that impact on them. It's such an important part of the pro-life movement, and it's something that I've seen just huge amounts of fruit from. So I encourage you all, don't just look at this past week as the time to use your voice, but look at the entire year as an opportunity to use your voice for the voiceless.
And every little bit of effort that we put in matters and adds up. You know, I remember the first time I contacted my MP about sex selective abortion was several years back. And I remember being really shocked to get a phone call back from my MP, right? But it just, I guess I didn't realize what a big difference it would make for me to put that effort in to speak to my MP, that the MP would put that effort in back to speak to me, you know, just that impact that me as one constituent could have raising this issue with my elected representative. And, you know, when it comes to reaching the culture, every little bit matters as well. You know, my experience was similar to Michelle's. And the more that I learned about abortion, about the brutal reality, the violence of the abortion procedure and what it does to the body of a preborn child, the more that I learned about how widespread abortion was, the more that I realized that I needed to speak up, and I needed to be I need to be part of the solution. That we all have to use our voice in defense of the voiceless. And I've been working in the pro-life movement for the past 5 years, full-time or part-time, but I spent 10 years volunteering before then. And, you know, some years, like when I was an undergrad student at the University of Toronto, and I would come out to the club, you know, 2 or 3 times a week. Some months I was one of the most active club members. And you can look at that 2 ways. You can be like, oh man, we need more people. And yes, we do need more people. But also you can look at that another way and be like, you know, just putting a few hours in can make a big difference, right? The few hours that I put in some of those months in my undergrad helped to make the difference of keeping a pro-life club alive and effectively reaching out to people on campus. And when we do the math in Toronto here about our volunteer outreach, our volunteer street outreach, and we look at you know, who is turning up and how often they're turning up, what I find is that we have a small core group of people who are regularly giving a ton of their time. And that's so important, you know, every Saturday coming out, or, you know, every Monday or Wednesday in between classes, coming out to do outreach. That's so important. It gives us the backbone of a team that can go and regularly reach out to the culture. The other half of the team is from volunteers who might only have an hour every month or two, but that's also so important. Sometimes it's the regular volunteers and the people who can show up every now and then. When we put them together, we have just enough people to go out and do outreach that Saturday. Just enough people to go and reach commuters at Union Station on a Monday rush hour. You know, so every little bit counts, whether you are a full-time student or working full-time doing something else, or whether you have the opportunity to work in the pro-life movement. Whatever time, whatever energy you have to put towards preborn human rights matters. I think of Nicholas Winton. Nicholas Winton was a British humanitarian who, on the eve of the Second World War, arranged for the safe passage of 669 children, most of them Jewish, to Britain on the eve of the Second World War. He saved many children's lives. And he famously said in one of his letters that there's a difference between passive goodness and active goodness, right? Passive goodness is, you know, living a morally upright life and, you know, seeking to do the right thing and not to do wrong. And that is important. But active goodness is putting our time and energy towards the alleviation of suffering, towards helping other people. And who is not, like who is more suffering in our society than a preborn child who relies on someone else to speak for them, who is innocent and defenseless and under attack in the womb? It is so critically important that we put our time and energy into being a voice for voiceless preborn children. So we want to talk just a little bit about what you can do now going forward. You can look back and catch up on the week if you missed some of the talks, but going forward, I want to encourage you to go to endthekilling.ca/volunteer. And if you're interested in activism, sign up there, submit a volunteer application form. And whether you're in Toronto, whether you're somewhere else in Ontario or somewhere else in Canada, we can connect you with your local outreach team. We can give you one-on-one apologetics training via video call. And also, when Ontario's stay-at-home order lifts, we're waiting for the reopening plan to see what this looks like, but we're hoping to hold a pro-life day of action in the early summer. And we normally hold a 3-day crash course every Toronto, and we're hoping to do that later this summer. If you sign up and submit the volunteer application, we will let you know about these events to receive further training and further opportunities to do outreach. And Tabitha mentioned weneedalaw.ca as well to stay connected in the political arm of the movement. I'm not sure if you wanted to add anything there, Tabitha, on how to stay connected throughout the year.
Absolutely. You can go to weneedalaw.ca. At the bottom of the page, you can find our subscribe button. Do subscribe to our newsletter. That's because in our newsletter, we often include calls to action, things that are currently happening politically, whether that be provincially or federally, that involve promoting preborn human rights. And we do calls to action so that you can timely be using your voice to witness to our government, to our provincial MPPs, as well as our federal members of parliament. So go to weneedalaw.ca. You can also follow us on all social media at We Need a Law. And just, make sure that you're continuing to stay up to date on what's happening and what we exist to help you effectively use your voice. So if you go to our website, you can find ways to understand how to call your MP, how to meet with your MP, how to write to your MP, how to host a flag display, how to write a letter to the editor. All these ways, what we're helping you to do is we're trying to equip you to use your voice. And you can always get in touch with us if you have any questions on this stuff, because we really want to see just the pro-life movement effectively active in advocating for laws that protect preborn children. That's what we exist to do, and we want to help you do that.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so important to stay connected. So take this moment to stay connected. endthekilling.ca/volunteer, weneedalaw.ca, and torontomarchforlife.ca. Stay connected. You can subscribe via email for major announcements on our website, and follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Stay connected, because throughout the year, we will keep you posted on major pro-life news and opportunities, and we will share content. But also, I hope that we'll be able to see you in person in Toronto next year for the 2022 Toronto March for Life. So if you want to stay tuned for those future announcements, make sure that you're signed up via email, that you're following us on social media. And I think that is what I hope everyone takes from this week moving forward, that we stay active and stay tuned, right? So take those steps today, take those steps this month to get active. Every hour that you can put towards pro-life action, if it's contacting your MP, if it's volunteering for outreach, it all makes a difference. We need as many people as possible doing effective work. Stay active and stay tuned. Be connected to Toronto March for Life. We will keep you up to date. And especially when we get into next year, we will let you know about our plans for the next Toronto March for Life, when I hope we are all able to gather again in person. So stay active, stay tuned. We will see you online. We will see you on the streets. And one day again, we will see you again in person. Thanks for tuning in this week. And I hope to see you in person sometime soon in the future.